The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a flash flood warning for Curry County in east central New Mexico, southeastern Quake County in east central New Mexico, east central Roosevelt County in east central New Mexico, until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 8:18 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1 and 2 inches of rain have fallen. Additional rainfall amounts of 1 to 2 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. Hazard: flash flooding caused by thunderstorms. Source: radar. Impact: flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage and low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience flash flooding include Clovis, Texeco, Melrose, Rangevale, Cannon Air Force Base, St. Vrain, Gortara, and Pleasant Hill. This includes the following highways: Highway 60 between mile markers 362 and 397. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. Repeating, a flash flood warning has been issued until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following counties in New Mexico: Curry and Roosevelt.
Michael Tilson Thomas and the orchestra have recorded this work for BMG Classics. MTT's recordings have won numerous international awards, including 12 Grammys. 11 of those were for San Francisco Symphony recordings. He was the 2019 recipient of the Kennedy Center Honors, was Musical America's Musician and Conductor of the Year, and was inducted into the Gramophone Hall of Fame. He's been elected to the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, the American Academy of Arts and Letters, was inducted into the California Hall of Fame, and was awarded the National Medal of Arts by President Obama. Michael Tilson Thomas back out on stage now, and a standing ovation here at Davies Symphony Hall. The original production of Appalachian Spring was really a who's who of great American artists. In addition to Copland and Martha Graham, the acclaimed artist Isamu Noguchi designed the sets, and two of the principal dancers were Eric Hawkins and Merce Cunningham, who went on to form important companies of their own. Michael Tilson Thomas back out on stage offering solo bows for the principal wind players. The horns, the brass, and now the strings of the San Francisco Symphony. You've been listening to a broadcast concert of the San Francisco Symphony from Davies Symphony Hall, featuring music director laureate Michael Tilson Thomas leading the orchestra in Aaron Copland's ballet Appalachian Spring. You also heard the world premiere of the trombone concerto by the symphony's principal trombone, Timothy Higgins, who is also the soloist, and Maurice Ravel's fairy tale ballet Mother Goose, led by guest conductor Ludovic Morlot, who graciously agreed to step in for the first half of this concert while Michael Tilson Thomas continues to recover from this past summer's surgery for a brain tumor. These broadcast concerts are produced by the San Francisco Symphony and music director Esa-Pekka Salonen, president Priscilla B. Giesland, and interim executive director Matthew Spivey. This broadcast was recorded by John Johansson, edited by Jason O'Connell, and the program notes were adapted from those written by James M. Keller. National syndication of these concerts is provided by the WFMT radio network. And don't forget that you can visit the Symphony online and find out more about the programs, the artists, and the orchestra at sfsymphony.org. Recorded live at Davies Symphony Hall in April 2007, this is the ballet Apollo by Igor Stravinsky. Michael Tilson Thomas leads the San Francisco Symphony. Recorded live at Davies Symphony Hall in April 2007, that was Igor Stravinsky's Apollo. Michael Tilson Thomas led the San Francisco Symphony. Find all of the San Francisco Symphony's engaging digital concerts and events in one place on SF Symphony Plus, the orchestra's free video streaming service. Experience boundary-defying soundbox programs curated by music director Esa-Pekka Salonen and the San Francisco Symphony's collaborative partners. Watch expanded music explorations with the orchestra's Currents series, and enjoy one-of-a-kind special events, signature digital projects, and more. You can find more information at sfsymphonyplus.org. With a global reputation and a string of critically acclaimed albums, SFS Media, the San Francisco Symphony's Grammy Award-winning in-house label, continues to release definitive recordings of canonical works as well as new classics from 20th century vanguard composers. Recent releases include 3 works by Alban Berg, recorded with Michael Tilson Thomas, violinist Gil Shaham, and soprano Susanna Phillips. Throughline by San Francisco Symphony collaborative partner Nico Muhly, featuring Esa-Pekka Salonen, the orchestra, and all 8 collaborative partners. And Kev Choice's Movements, featuring the orchestra, special guest Aima the Dreamer, and local musicians, recorded during the COVID-19 pandemic. You can find more information at sfsymphony.org/sfsmedia. This is Rick Malone. Thank you for listening, and I hope you'll join us for the next broadcast concert by the San Francisco Symphony.
This broadcast of the San Francisco Symphony is made possible with the generous support of Fred Levin of the Shenson Foundation, in memory of Nancy Livingston Levin and Ben and A. Jess Shenson. Additional support is generously provided by the Acacia Foundation.
You're listening to KENW-FM Portales, New Mexico, KMTH-FM Maljamar, KENM-FM Tucumcari, KENU-FM Des Moines, KENG-FM Ruidoso, and KENE-FM Raton, New Mexico.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Shay Stevens. The White House is delivering a stark warning about the consequences of allowing the U.S. to default on its debt. NPR's Windsor Johnston reports on continuing efforts to reach agreement on raising the nation's borrowing limit.
White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre struck an urgent tone, warning that too much is at stake for lawmakers to allow the U.S. to default on its debt.
A default would have catastrophic impacts in every single part of this country, whether you're in a red state or in a blue state.
Republicans are refusing to accept a deal unless it results in the government spending less money than it did in the last fiscal year. Democrats, including President Biden, argue that the GOP demand to cut spending is unreasonable. Without an agreement, the U.S. could default on its debt by as early as June 1st. Windsor Johnston, NPR News, Washington.
The top UN human rights official is urging Sudan's warring factions to protect civilians. As NPR's Michelle Kellerman reports, the U.S. and Saudi Arabia are monitoring a short-term ceasefire.
The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, calls the situation in Sudan heartbreaking, and he says his office has received a growing number of reports of sexual violence. He had a message to the leaders of the Sudanese army and a rival paramilitary force.
You must issue clear instructions in no uncertain terms to all those under your command that there is zero tolerance for sexual violence, and you must stop this senseless violence now.
The UN official says many civilians are besieged as some fighting continues despite a week-long humanitarian truce. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, the State Department.
The Queen of Rock and Roll has died. Tina Turner was 83 years old. Turner is remembered for a list of hits including Proud Mary and Better Be Good to Me. Here's Turner in a 2019 interview talking about turning 80.
Yes, I'm 80. What did I think? How did I think I would be at 80? Not like this. How is this? Oh, well, I look great. I feel good. I've gone through some very serious sicknesses that I'm overcoming. So it's like having a second chance at life. I'm happy to be an 80-year-old woman.
Born Anna Mae Bullock, Turner's career began in the 1950s as a lead singer for the Ike and Tina Turner Revue. She was in her mid-40s when she launched a successful solo career with the chart-topping single, What's Love Got to Do with It? You're listening to NPR News. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has formally entered the race for the 2024 Republican presidential nomination. He's stepping into a crowded field that appears to be a test of his national appeal and of whether Republicans are willing to move on from former President Trump. A Wisconsin judge has scheduled a jury trial in another lawsuit involving Trump. As Maayan Silver reports from member station WUWM, this one centers on so-called fake electors.
The suit is aimed at Republicans who attempted to cast the state's 10 electoral votes for Donald Trump in 2020, even though Joe Biden had won the state. It's the first civil suit in the country on the issue of so-called fake electors, filed by liberal group Law Forward in Wisconsin after Trump and his allies made similar efforts in 6 other states. Law Forward claims the electors attempted to override the state's recounted and certified election results, ignoring state and federal law. Republicans who participated in Wisconsin say they were trying to preserve Trump's legal standing in case courts overturned his defeat. Defendants are expected to file a motion to dismiss in the case in the coming weeks. For NPR News, I'm Maayan Silver in Milwaukee.
A Florida elementary school has removed a poem read at President Biden's inauguration after one parent complained. Poem, The Hill We Climb, by Amanda Gorman, is now on a restricted list at Bob Graham Education Center in Miami Lakes. It's one of several books challenged by a parent of 2 students there. No word on whether any other parent at Bob Graham has any other thing to say in the matter. This is NPR News.
Support for NPR comes from Keeper, a password manager designed to keep passwords secure and protect against cyber attacks. Websites and app logins are accessible across devices, and passwords are shareable. More at keepersecurity.com.
We're the KENW Public Radio Network with your regional weather forecast. Starting in the Northeast, for Springer, Las Vegas, Wagon Mount, Clayton, and currently in Raton, it's 59. Tonight, thunderstorms with a low in the mid-40s. Then tomorrow, thunderstorms with a high in the mid-70s. For the East Central Plains of Clovis, Fort Sumter.
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico until 9:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 9:03 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located near Arch, or 17 miles southeast of Portales, moving southeast at 10 miles per hour. Hazard, 70 miles per hour wind gusts and nickel-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, expects considerable tree damage. Damage is likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. Locations impacted include Causey, Lingo, and Rogers. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Accumulations of hail on roads can create very slick and hazardous driving conditions. Repeat reading, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 9:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following county: Roosevelt, New Mexico.
Puzzler from now. And right now, a word about trolls. And I'm not talking about people who post nasty comments online. I mean the trolls who are essential characters in Norwegian folklore. They look kind of like humans, except smaller and usually with some parts a little bit out of proportion. Trolls love to have fun, a special kind of goofy fun. They can be extraordinarily selfish, and trolls love to play music. Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg wrote this to go along with Henrik Ibsen's play about a boy named Peer Gynt who comes across an entire troll civilization. He encounters a troll princess, troll urchins, and musicians, and of course, their leader in the Hall of the Mountain King. Well, let's drop in on a concert in Jackson Hole, Wyoming to hear some human musicians playing in the Hall of the Mountain King and the rest of the Peer Gynt Suite No. 1 by Edvard Grieg, Donald Runnicles conducting the Grand Teton Music Festival Orchestra, and the suite begins with a piece called Morning Mood.
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico, southern Curry County and east central New Mexico, until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 9:14 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located near St. Vrain, or 18 miles west of Clovis, moving southeast at 15 miles per hour. Hazard, 70 miles per hour wind gusts and ping-pong ball-size hail. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect considerable tree damage. Wind damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. Locations impacted include Clovis, Portales, Farwell, Texeco, Melrose, Floyd, St. Vrain, Rangevale, Arch, and Oasis State Park. This includes Highway 60 between mile markers 354 and 397. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Accumulations of hail on roads can create very slick and hazardous driving conditions. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following counties in New Mexico: Curry and Roosevelt.
Norwegian composer Edvard Grieg wrote that music to go along with Henrik Ibsen's play about a boy named Peer Gynt who comes across an entire civilization of trolls. He encounters a troll princess, troll children, troll musicians, and of course their leader who lives in the Hall of the Mountain King. The Peer Gynt Suite No. 1 by Edvard Grieg. We heard it from a concert in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Conductor Donald Runnicles led the Grand Teton Festival Orchestra. In a moment, Bruce Adolphe joins us with this week's Piano Puzzler. You're listening to APM's Performance Today.
Thank you for listening to us on KENW-FM. This is Evelyn Ledbetter. We're in the middle of our pledge drive, trying to raise money for our programming so that you can enjoy the programs you're hearing tonight on San Francisco Orchestra and Performance Today. Please call in with your pledge at 562-2112 or 1-888-367-5369. And again, that's a toll-free number, 1-888-FOR-KENW. Any amount that you can put towards this program helps us out greatly. 100% of your pledge goes towards the programming.
Time for another piano puzzler. Bruce Adolphe is here with me at the Rose Studio at Lincoln Center in New York City. Hi, Bruce.
Hi, Fred.
Every week, Bruce takes a familiar tune. He rewrites that tune in the style of a great classical composer. We get one of our listeners on the phone who tries to name the hidden tune, and the composer whose style Bruce is imitating. Margaret Chan is on the line from Carmel, New York. Hi, Margaret.
Hi there.
Great to have you calling in this week. Now, Margaret, what's your connection with the world of music?
So I went to college for music education. I'm currently a public school music teacher, so music has always been a big part of my life, and the rest of my life is just to share it with everybody.
I'm so grateful you do that. I went to public school in Portland, Oregon, and was really lucky to have that as part of my life. So I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing, Margaret. And I happen to know there's more to your musical life than just teaching. What else do you do with music in your life?
Sure thing. So in my free time, I run an organization called Songs for Change, and every month we host a virtual benefit concert, and we raise money for different organizations that deal with racial inequity.
So glad you're doing that work too. Margaret, thank you for all you're doing with music in our communities. And you're in for a piano puzzler here. Bruce will play this. We'll see if you can name the hidden tune and the composer Bruce has in mind. Margaret, I don't know what's coming either, so if you need some brainstorming help, I'm here for you.
Sounds great.
Okay, and here's Bruce Adolphe with your piano puzzler. Wow. Margaret, what'd you hear in that piano puzzler?
Oh, wow. It's definitely much harder when you're under the hot seat.
Well, it is a hard one, I must say. It's tricky.
All right. So I'm getting some, maybe impressionist, modern kind
Modern
of
is
sound.
good. Modernish, yeah, yeah.
So 20th century, or that's the ballpark we're in here?
Yes, 20th century.
Hmm.
I wouldn't go with impressionist, but modern is good.
Could I jump in with a question? Would that be okay, Margaret?
Yeah, go ahead.
Is it possible we're in the American 20th century? Bruce?
Well, yes, we are.
I'm just gonna take a shot in the dark. I'm gonna say Copland.
And it is Aaron Copland. I'll take that as correct. Yes.
Aaron Copland. Bruce, what makes this in the style of Aaron Copland?
Well, the first easy answer to that is that the very first phrase and the very last phrase, which are the same, are from the Copland Piano Sonata. But then after that, the chords are Copland chords. He really had his own chord style. I mean, it's related a little bit to other composers of the time, like Stravinsky. In fact, he's sometimes called the Brooklyn Stravinsky. But the chords are a combination of simple positions of simple chords, but slightly rearranged for more dissonance sometimes. Like, for example, here's a very simple chord that anybody might use, a major seventh chord. But he would probably position it like this. So you would hear the dissonances more. He also combined two chords. So you will get chords like this. That whole series of chords, which have possibly two names or three names. So they're composites.
So it's tonal, but it's Copland tonal.
Yeah, it's kind of like, it has a relationship, as does Stravinsky, to cubism, where different chords are in different planes kind of intersecting.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, so well done, Margaret. You named the composer Bruce had in mind with your very first guess. And that's really the heart of the Piano Puzzler, is recognizing those signature sounds of different great composers. But we still have the hidden tune that we haven't figured out yet. And I don't know, this was interesting. It's pretty well hidden, and I don't know. Margaret?
Yeah, the harmonies are kind of tough. This is the part that I always struggle with the Piano Puzzler.
I would say the tune is right on top, but it is the harmonies that are disturbing you, for sure. I'm going to skip the first three measures and start right where the tune is introduced. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Here we go.
Beautiful.
I think I got it now.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and guess Imagine by John Lennon.
You got it.
Nice.
Nice.
Oh, and the harmonies are, the harmonies of John Lennon's song, Imagine, are so straightforward. And what you did with them took them so far afield, Bruce.
Yeah.
Margaret, that's great that you heard that in the middle of all that unusual harmonization that Bruce did. Your ear was able to pick out that tune. Great stuff. Well done.
Thank you.
Okay, now that we know it's Imagine by John Lennon, but rewritten by Bruce here in the style of Aaron Copland. Bruce, can we hear this one more time?
Absolutely.
Man, that is just thrilling in a way to hear that. I mean, John Lennon's tune has a kind of brilliant simplicity and directness to it. But to hear it rewritten with those Copland-esque harmonies, like my musical brain is, all the neurons are firing and are very happy right now.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that. I felt like they belonged together in some interesting way. And when I was playing this and my daughter came in the room and said, she said, that really works. I like that better, which is kind of unusual.
And Aaron Copland was a guy, and this, Bruce, I can't help but think you gave this to Margaret on purpose, because John Lennon had some real thoughts about music for change and songs for change and making the world a better place. And Aaron Copland did too. He wanted to make the world a better place.
That's exactly right. And I did pick that because I saw when you had your description of the songs for change, I figured Imagine is perfect for me.
Margaret, I'm so grateful you called in and you got the tune on your first guess. You got the composer on your first guess. That was great. And it was just wonderful having you play the piano puzzler this week. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
And when you're not listening by calling in and playing on the air, how do you normally hear piano puzzlers?
I listen to you guys on Apple Podcasts.
The podcast, which comes from our website at yourclassical.org. Margaret Chan, music teacher, and she runs the organization Songs for Change as well from her home in Carmel, New York. Margaret, thank you so much for playing this week's Piano Puzzler.
Thank you so much, Fred and Bruce. This was great.
Yeah, wonderful having you. And Bruce, we'll do it again next week.
Bye, Fred.
Well, that sounds a lot like Bruce's Puzzler, but this is the actual beginning of the Piano Sonata by Aaron Copland. As always, our Puzzler producer John Goman knew what was coming, and he picked out this highlight for us. And by the way, congratulations to one of our at-home Puzzler players this week, Joanne Rizecki of Flushing, New York. Listen to our Puzzler sneak peek. Joanne named John Lennon's tune Imagine and the style of Aaron Copland. You can play Puzzlers at home anytime you like. Sign up for our email newsletter to get the Piano Puzzlers sneak peek delivered every week. That sign up is on the PT page, and you can listen straight from that same page as well. While you're at it, if you'd ever like to play a puzzler on the air with Bruce and me, drop us a line via the contact form, also on that same page, talking about the PT page at yourclassical.org. Just a taste of that Piano Sonata by Aaron Copland. That was part of the inspiration for Bruce Adolphe when he wrote this week's Piano Puzzler. In a moment, a 20th century fantasy on Hasidic folk songs. That's next on APM's Performance Today. We're about to hear music written by a gentleman named Joachim Stutchevsky. He was born in Ukraine in 1891, grew up in a Jewish family of klezmer musicians. Joachim Stutchevsky learned to play violin and cello, and he was well-traveled as a young man. He went to the conservatory in Leipzig, Germany, worked as a musician in Paris, in Vienna, and in Switzerland. He moved to Palestine in 1938 and lived most of the rest of his life in what became the nation of Israel. Well, Joachim Stutchevsky was an avid student of Jewish folk music, and as a composer, he used Jewish folk tunes as the foundation of his compositions. Here's a 15-minute piece he wrote for clarinet, cello, and piano. This is the Hasidic Fantasy by Joachim Stutchevsky.
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 9:45 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located over Lingo, or 18 miles west of Morton, moving southeast at 10 miles per hour. Hazard, ping-pong ball-size hail and 60 miles per hour wind gusts. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Causey and Lingo. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following county: Roosevelt, New Mexico. The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northwestern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico, southeastern Vaca County and east central New Mexico, southwestern Curry County and east central New Mexico until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 9:49 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located 10 miles south of Tolar, or 23 miles southeast of Fort Sumner, moving east at 20 miles per hour. Hazard, ping-pong ball-size hail and 60 miles per hour wind gusts. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Fort Sumner, Floyd, Dora, Tolar, and Taiban. This includes Highway 60 between mile markers 330 and 353, and near mile marker 355. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following counties in New Mexico: Curry and Roosevelt.
Music by the 20th century cellist and composer Joachim Stuczewski. That's his Hasidic Fantasy. Alon Goldstein at the piano, Amit Peled played the cello, Alexander Fitterstein on the clarinet. The Goldstein-Peled-Fitterstein trio gave that concert on the campus of Clemson University in Clemson, South Carolina. That was part of the long-running Lillian and Robert Yutzi Chamber Music Series. Not the best-known 20th century composer, so I'll just mention him again, Joachim Stuczewski. You can always look up the names of composers and pieces we play on PT. Our complete playlists live in perpetuity on the PT page at yourclassical.org. I'm Fred Childs, so grateful to share musical adventures with you on the radio every day, going to concert halls around the world. And in the spring of 2024, you're invited to join me for a real-world adventure. We can cruise the Rhone River in France aboard a chartered river ship. Our ports in Nice and Avignon and Lyon will be rich with music and art and history. not to mention vineyards and cuisine. And we'll cap it off with a couple of days in Paris, including a major concert in the City of Light. World-class musicians will also join us on board, playing music reflecting the places we're seeing. You and I can share April in Paris and on the Rhone River. Details online at publicradiocustomtravel.org. That's publicradiocustomtravel.org. Broadcast of our show is supported by Made in Cookware. Made in Cookware is crafted by chefs for use in restaurants and home kitchens around the world. Their cookware can be found at madeincookware.com. Support also comes from Hint, maker of fruit-infused water with no sugar or diet sweeteners. Hint's 25 flavors include blackberry, coconut, and blueberry lemon. In stores or at hintwater.com.
The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a flash flood warning for southeastern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico until 1 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 9:56 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain across the warned area. Between 1.5 and 2 inches of rain have fallen. Additional rainfall amounts of 1.5 to 2.5 inches are possible in the warned area. Flash flooding is ongoing or expected to begin shortly. Hazard: flash flooding caused by thunderstorms. Source: radar. Impact: flash flooding of small creeks and streams, urban areas, highways, streets, and underpasses, as well as other poor drainage and low-lying areas. Some locations that will experience flash flooding include Causey and Lingo. Turn around. Don't drown when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. Be especially cautious at night when it is harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. Repeating, a flash flood warning has been issued until 1 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time Thursday for the following county: Roosevelt, New Mexico.
When Anthony McGill plays lyrical lines like this on his clarinet, I just find it mesmerizing. McGill says he imagines singing through his clarinet, drawing on the voices he's heard and treasured over the years.
I think I do have these voices stored in my memory banks and in my body, from 10 years playing at the Met Opera, for instance. And so I just try to imitate that, blow through the wooden stick and hope for the best.
From APM, American Public Media, this is Performance Today. I'm Fred Child. Clarinetist Anthony McGill joins me as co-host for this special hour of PT. Anthony McGill has that lyrical Brahms for us later in the hour. Right now, here's Anthony McGill and friends playing music inspired by a roller coaster, The Great American Scream Machine by Joel Puckett. Music inspired by a giant wooden roller coaster. That piece is called The Great American Scream Machine, written by composer Joel Puckett. From APM, American Public Media, this is Performance Today. I'm Fred Child. So glad to have this place where you and I can share music and ideas. And so glad this hour to welcome a special co-host, clarinetist Anthony McGill, principal clarinet of the New York Philharmonic and a longtime friend of our show. Anthony, welcome to PT.
Thank you, Fred.
Great to have you here. There's so much I want to talk with you about, and you've picked out so much great music for this coming hour. But this first piece is a collaboration with a group, the Pacifica Quartet. What do you love about playing with the Pacifica Quartet?
Yeah, we've been friends for a while now and have been performing partners for many years. And I first heard them at a music festival, and I was just struck by their passion and their musicality and just the energy with which they brought to, I think it was a Beethoven quartet, and it just sounded so suave and sleek and expressive. So we developed a friendship back then, and we've been recording together and hanging out together on tour ever since.
And you play with the Pacifica Quartet music new and old. And we're starting with music by James Lee III. It's a quintet for clarinet and string quartet. What is it you love about this piece?
I love the writing of the music. I mean, it's so expressive and it tells a real story. And some of that story comes from an experience from the composer. James saw an old picture of Native Americans in a gallery in London. And he saw this picture and it made him think about the relationship between African Americans and Native Americans in this country and how some of those identities are blended and have been for many years. And he explores this in the piece by taking some melodies that are traditionally from like Black classical composers of old, and then taking melodies and sounds from Native American folk music. And he really uses variation and color and harmony to tell this story and to search for meaning within one's identity. And he does it so beautifully.
Let's hear this entire quintet for clarinet and string quartet by James Lee III. Anthony McGill playing the clarinet with the Pacifica Quartet, a concert at the University of Georgia in Athens.
National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for northwestern Roosevelt County in east central New Mexico, southeastern Baca County in east central New Mexico, north central Chavez County in southeastern New Mexico, southwestern Curry County in east central New Mexico, until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 10:13 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located 17 miles southwest of Melrose, or 24 miles west of Portales, moving southeast at 15 miles per hour. Hazard, 2-inch hail and 70 miles per hour wind gusts. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect considerable tree damage. Wind damage is also likely to mobile homes, roofs, and outbuildings. Locations impacted include Portales, Fort Sumner, Melrose, Elida, Floyd, St. Vrain, Tolar, and Taiban. This includes Highway 60 between mile markers 325 and 376. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following counties in New Mexico: Chavez, Curry, and Roosevelt. The National Weather Service in Albuquerque has issued a severe thunderstorm warning for southeastern Roosevelt County and east central New Mexico until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time. At 10:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time, a severe thunderstorm was located near Dora, or 16 miles southeast of Portales, moving southeast at 15 miles per hour. Hazard, golf ball size hail and 60 miles per hour wind gusts. Source, radar indicated. Impact, people and animals outdoors will be injured. Expect hail damage to roofs, siding, windows, and vehicles. Expect wind damage to roofs, siding, and trees. Locations impacted include Portales, Dora, Causey, Lingo, Arch, Pet, and Rogers. For your protection, move to an interior room on the lowest floor of a building. Large hail, damaging winds, and continuous cloud-to-ground lightning are occurring with this storm. Move indoors immediately. Lightning is one of nature's leading killers. Remember, if you can hear thunder, you are close enough to be struck by lightning. Repeating, a severe thunderstorm warning has been issued until 11:15 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time for the following county: Roosevelt, New Mexico.
Music by American composer James Lee III, his quintet for clarinet and string quartet. Anthony McGill played the clarinet alongside the Pacifica Quartet. They gave that concert at the University of Georgia in Athens. And Anthony McGill, the clarinetist in that performance, is my special co-host for this hour of PT, choosing all the music and joining me right here in the studio. Anthony, first of all, wonderful performance. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
You introduced this piece by saying that this came from an experience James Lee had at a gallery in London, seeing an old print with images of Native Americans. And for him, as an African American, that raised some questions about identity, some interwoven strands of Native American, African American identity, and some personal questions for him. As an African American yourself, does that piece raise questions for you along those lines?
Yes, it does. I think so many of us are on a search for where we came from because of the nature of how we arrived here. A lot of us don't know who our ancestors were, where specifically they were from. And yet, in a lot of the Black community, a lot of people tell stories. We tell stories to try to find something to hold on to in our history, you know, on this land. And so we all search for that sense of pride, of trying to discover what our history is. I know, for instance, my dad always talked about a little small town in Mississippi that he was from, Mount Bayou, Mississippi. And he spoke of it almost daily, just to give us something to hold on to and to be proud of. And that search is something that is so familiar to so many people that came to this country in different ways, that I think that the piece resonates with me so much because of that desire to know who I am, who we are.
Well, so glad to hear this piece and the issues around this piece by James Lee III, his quintet for clarinet and string quartet. Anthony McGill is my special co-host for this hour of PT. Anthony, I'm so interested to hear all the rest of the music that you've picked out for us for this hour and to hear your thoughts on why melancholy can be a good thing. That's on the way in just a moment. You're listening to APM's Performance Today. I'm Fred Child, back in the studio with my co-hosts for this hour of PT. He's the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic, Anthony McGill. Anthony, I'm so grateful you're joining me this hour. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a real honor.
Anthony, the music that you've picked out for us next illustrates something that you've been thinking about in your own life, which is that melancholy is not necessarily a bad thing. What does that mean for you?
Really, in a nutshell, it has to do with this sound, this feeling of sadness and sweetness all together, all in one, this light and darkness coming together in sound.
So that being melancholy doesn't just mean being sad, and that's something you should avoid and get rid of in your life, but it's part of the richness of the tapestry of human emotion. It has that bitterness and that sweetness at the same time. Am I hearing that about right?
You're right there. Yeah. I think that's exactly what I mean. And the beauty lies in that gray area there.
And you've chosen a recording to illustrate this that I find it hard to talk about because I almost start tearing up even just saying what this is. This is Jesse Norman's recording of the third of the four last songs by Richard Strauss. And Anthony, why did you choose this recording?
There are certain people and certain artists that I've loved most of my career, most of my adult life at least. And Jesse Norman, first of all, is one of them. She's a musical hero of mine. And this recording in particular is one of those that I listen to learn what great musicianship is, but also to gain inspiration. This is where you gain a sense of how to play beautiful music because of this feeling of joy and sadness and pain in the voice. You can hear it in every word she says, but also in the quality of the sound that sound is both sweet and sad. The sound of her voice, but also the sound of the music. And if you can find that and play like that as a clarinet player, and even if you can discover that as a listener, you may fall in love with music.
Beim Schlafengehen, or Going to Sleep. It's the third of the four last songs by Richard Strauss, with words, yes, about going to sleep, but it's from the point of view of someone who realizes they are just on the brink of death. It's the voice of Jesse Norman, with Kurt Masur conducting the Leipzig Gewandhaus Orchestra. words from the point of view of someone beim Schlafengehen, yes, going to sleep, but realizing that they are on the brink of passing into death. Beim Schlafengehen, the third movement from the four last songs by Richard Strauss. Jesse Norman made that recording with conductor Kurt Masur and the Leipzig Gewandhaus Orchestra back in 1983. And that recording was chosen for us for this special hour of PT by my co-host, Anthony McGill. He's the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic. And Anthony, thank you for choosing that recording. That's extraordinary.
Thank you.
And I love that you've chosen a couple of things for this hour of PT where you're not playing. And in particular, this segment is a couple of voices. Jesse Norman, we just heard, and we're going to Nina Simone. And first of all, which song by Nina Simone?
Oh, this is a recording of a song that I fell in love with probably over the last 5 years. And it's called I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. And it's painful. And yet it's so real, you know? That's what I love about it, is that she's telling the story and she's singing this, and I can feel all the pain in the words. I can hear the beauty of the voice and the joy that she gets from expressing herself through her voice. And it's just so striking how someone can communicate so clearly and so with such raw beauty. And that's what I love about this. It's so natural and raw.
It's 3 minutes of raw beauty from Nina Simone. And even before her voice comes in, she sets up that feeling with piano. She's playing piano and putting us squarely in the gospel space, even before her voice comes in. I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, a recording by Nina Simone.
I wish I knew how it would feel to be free. I wish I could break all the chains holding me. I wish I could say all the things that I should say. Say them loud, say them clear, for the whole round world to hear. I wish I could share all the love that's in my heart. Remove all the bars that keep us apart. I wish you could know what it means to be me. Then you'd see and agree that every man should be free. I wish I could give all I'm longing to give. I wish I could live like I'm longing to live. I wish I could do all the things that I can do, though I'm way overdue. I'd be starting anew. Well, I wish I could be like a bird in the sky. How sweet it would be if by my heart I could fly. I'd soar to the sun and look down at the sea. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know, yeah. Not sing, 'cause I know, yeah. Then I'd sing, 'cause I know how it feels. I know how it feels to be free. Yeah, yeah, I know how it feels. Yes, I know how it feels, how it feels to be
Not a sound we hear every day here on PT, but what an amazing recording. The song I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free, Nina Simone's recording from 1967, chosen for us by my co-host for this hour, clarinetist Anthony McGill. Anthony, amazing song, unrivaled recording. And the words are, I mean, it's not just Nina Simone singing a song. She's singing her life in a way.
She really is. And you can hear it in her voice, how real it is and how she's just asking the world to be able to understand what it's like for her to live in a world with racism and trying to figure out how we could live in a world without this kind of hatred and how she could be free from these shackles of the world. And that is so powerful. And there's such freedom in her voice that it's basically, it's juxtaposed with this feeling of imprisonment, you know? And so music frees her, is freeing her while she's singing it. And you can hear that with every note and every harmony that she sings.
And Anthony, I'm just so grateful you chose that for us. Nina Simone from her 1967 album, Silk and Soul, her recording of the song, I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free. Anthony McGill, principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic, is my special co-host for this hour of PT. And coming up next, Anthony will be back after having just heard those two beautiful voices, Nina Simone and Jesse Norman. We'll talk about what it means to try to get a singing tone on the clarinet. You're listening to APM's Performance Today. I'm Fred Child, back in our New York studio with my co-host for this hour, the principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic, Anthony McGill. Anthony, it's so great to spend this hour with you. Thank you for being here.
Fred, thank you.
Yeah, glad to have you. And we just heard these two amazing voices that you picked out for us, Jesse Norman and Nina Simone. And something that I've always loved about your clarinet playing is this, I mean, there aren't even words for this. Your lyrical playing, when you're playing a slow line, it's like there's an aura around the sound that you're creating from the clarinet. It's like I feel myself being held in the greatest hug ever when I'm hearing you play slow lyrical lines on the clarinet. What are you thinking about when you're playing these beautiful slow lines?
I'm thinking about how it is to be a singer. I'm thinking about all of the great singers that I listen to learn what that is, you know, that color around it that you talk about. There's the technique of playing the clarinet, which is very exacting, right? But then there's the imagination takes over in the tone. And your imagination is really powerful when you're trying to produce a sound on an instrument. So I think I do have these voices stored in my memory banks and in my body, you know, from 10 years playing at the Met Opera, for instance, and listening to recordings like this that have that color that you speak of. And so I just try to imitate that. And, you know, I just hope for the best. Blow through the wooden stick and hope for the best.
Well, we're about to hear a great example of that. It's Gloria Chen at the piano. You're playing clarinet. The slow movement from the Clarinet Sonata No. 1 by Johannes Brahms. And let's hear these colors that you're getting from your clarinet in this recording. That's the second movement from Brahms' Clarinet Sonata No. 1. Anthony McGill playing the clarinet, Gloria Chien at the piano. And Anthony McGill is joining me here in our New York studio. Anthony, that is a scrumptious recording. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Fred.
Anthony, you're the principal clarinetist in the New York Philharmonic, but there's so many other things you do in the world of music that are just fascinating and such a boost to the art form itself, including what you do at the Juilliard School in New York. Would you tell us a little about that?
Sure. I'm the artistic director of the Music Advancement Program, which is a program for young people from the ages of 8 to 18. And it's a wonderful program that has a very specific mission, and that's to reach and recruit students from underserved communities, traditionally underserved in classical music, and to provide them a Saturday conservatory-style education. And it's really wonderful getting to work with families and students similar to backgrounds that I grew up in Chicago, and to be able to give back in that way, it's one of my great joys in my life.
Anthony McGill, principal clarinetist of the New York Philharmonic, thank you so much. It means a great deal to me to have you as a co-host for this hour of PT. Thank you.
It's a real honor, Fred. I really appreciate this opportunity.
You can hear my conversations again with Anthony McGill and all the music he picked for this special hour of PT on the PT page at yourclassical.org. I'm Fred Child.
And I'm Anthony McGill. This is Performance Today from APM, American Public Media.
Black churches in both Birmingham, Alabama, and Charleston, South Carolina have been attacked by racist violence. Composer Sean O'Pebolo has written a musical reflection on these tragedies. It's a piece called Two Black Churches. I'm Fred Child. Join me for the next Performance Today from APM.
Thursday night at 9 p.m. on the KENW Public Radio Network.
Thank you for listening to us on KENW-FM. This is Evelyn Ledbetter. We're in the middle of our pledge drive, trying to raise money for our programming so that you can enjoy the programs you're hearing tonight on San Francisco Orchestra and Performance Today. Please call in with your pledge at 562-2112 or 1-888-367-5369. And again, that's a toll-free number, 1-888-FOR KENW. Any amount that you can put towards this program helps us out greatly. 100% of your pledge goes towards the programming.
The U.S. has only until next Thursday to raise the debt ceiling or risk default and its economic consequences. But personal finance experts still have 2 words of advice for small investors. Don't panic.
Really fight your worst instinct to act on the news.
The importance of keeping calm and carrying on the next morning edition from NPR News.
Hear Morning Edition from 5 till 8 a.m. on the KENW Public Radio Network at 88.1 MHz KENE-FM Raton, 88.5 MHz KENU-FM Des Moines, and KENG-FM Ruidoso, 88.9 KENM-FM Tucumcari, New Mexico.
This is KENW-FM 89.5 Portales, New Mexico, and KMTH-FM 98.7 Maljamar, New Mexico. We're public radio for the High Plains. It's time now for music out of the night into the morning.
I'm Peter Van de Graaff, and I'm going to play for you An American in Paris by George Gershwin in just a few minutes. First, this by a little-known composer from France, writing mostly lighter pieces of music. He lived from 1850 to 1909. His name is Francis Thome, Thome, and here is his Fantasy, with Joshua Whitehouse being accompanied by Gail Novak.